I think what we need to understand is 90% of young people by the time they're seniors in high school have at least experimented a little bit. The average age that kids start experimenting, that means they drink their first beer, they smoke their first joint, is in 7th grade, age 12. And they do that because of curiosity and because of peer pressure. Some of those kids then, primarily because of their genetics, that they were born high risk to becoming chemically dependent, they will no longer be able to control their use and only be social users, but they will come down to having more and more issues and more problems or consequences from their use. So when we say what triggers it, it's not really that like emotional problems or family problems or legal issues trigger the chemical use. In fact, the chemical use usually is at the root of those kinds of problems. I think that plays a really big role in when kids first start using. You have to understand that kids start out feeling very normal with a normal amount of hassles in their life. And because of peer pressure to fit in, because it's not cool to be straight in our society, but it's cool to use a little bit, and because of their natural curiosity, because our society has glamorized the use of these things, then they use the first few times. And what happens is they learn to trust the mood-altering chemicals to make them feel better about those normal everyday hassles and to not hurt them in any way, not have any problems or issues. So the key is they learn to trust the chemicals, and then they come right back down to normal without any problems or anything. So the peer pressure really plays a role in when they're first learning to use and then learning to trust the chemicals to make them feel better. When we're interviewing someone for an assessment, we always ask about alcoholism and drug addiction in the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, anyone. And if we get positive responses to that, then it's another red flag that it's more likely a person will not stay just a social user, but that they will become chemically dependent. And the person who has that genetic predisposition, they were born high risk because of their heredity, they don't have to use as much in terms of frequency, amount, or variety of drugs as someone else. In fact, they may use less, and then they still become chemically dependent. And the person next to them who's using more in all those ways doesn't become chemically dependent. Genetics is a very big, important part of this. The most important thing parents can do is keep their kids accountable. If you have really clear rules in your family against those things, and if the kids then go out and experiment, then you need to have consequences to it. They need to lose privileges for maybe a week or 2 weeks, lose the internet, lose the privilege of driving, be off the phone, things like that. So that what we're trying to do is we're trying to build some kind of external motivation for them to stay straight and sober, because internally they have learned how good these things feel. So we have to battle that good feeling that they've gotten by their knowing that they're going to have consequences if they get caught. And I think it's very important for parents to get an education so they begin to understand about chemical dependency, so they don't think, well, that's just kids, that's just the way kids act. So parents will know that the marijuana is much stronger now than it used to be, so that they'll really get an idea about how widespread this is. Lots of kids are partying hard on a Friday night.